guys, how's it going? So today I want to give you an update on how all of our window boxes are doing. We planted them up early on this summer, and I don't think we've updated you at all on how they've done throughout the year, and I'm sorry about that. So here we are mid-September. I'll give you a look at every single one of them. I've only had to change out a few plants here and there that have fizzled out. I had a spider mite issue on the other side of the house. I'll talk to you more about that when we get over there. But you can see they start right here. So this is our kitchen door. I added these containers recently, actually. May as well start with these. We're trying out these caladiums. These are new with proven winners next year. So this one's called White Wonder, and I think this one's Fast Flash. And then we've got an apple twist heuchera, of course some asparagus ferns here, and a little impatiens. It's actually doing really well, and I have horrible luck with impatiens, which I'll talk about when we get to the boxes that I did have impatiens planted in earlier on. So these are the Yorkshire window boxes from Plow and Hearth. We installed these at the beginning of last spring, I think. My years are running together here, but they've done really well. In fact, I have toyed with the idea of painting them, and I don't know that I'm going to do it. I thought that I might like to have them be black, but I think with as much shade as these planters get, they might look a little bit too dark under here. And the fact that they're white, all of the foliage really shines. Like the contrast is so high that I can pretty much put any plant in here and it's going to show up, as opposed to black. If you've got a black window box in shade, I mean, you're going to have to use basically chartreuse green looking plants in order for them to really show up. So that's some of the things I've been considering. And here's Cheddar. Cheddar likes to rub all over on my legs. It's kind of hard to walk sometimes. So in this window box, I actually have Ivory Prince hellebores, which I planted in here in the spring, like early. I did, I think pansies, what else? Primrose in here. I did some daffodils. So the Ivory Prince are still in here, and they will be until I clean this window box out later, and I'm going to plant them out in the landscape. So those are all still doing great in there. I've got a Wicked Witch coleus here. This is also a new one for next year from Proven Winners, and I've tried it in the window box here because I knew it wasn't going to get any sun. And then I've got it in another area where it gets a lot more sun, and it's interesting to see the size difference and the color difference. I mean, I feel like they're beautiful in both places, but I do like the size that these have all stayed. I haven't done any pruning on this window box at all. We do have some wire vine in here. So just a nice delicate trailing plant. And if you look right here, it's actually grown through the screen, and it's like in between the screen and our window there. Like when I open the window, I can touch the plant. So I kind of feel bad that I wasn't like paying attention enough to make sure it stayed on the outside. We've got an oxalis in here. This is Iron Cross. I could have done a little grooming before this video. That might have been nice, right? Done a little cleanup. I do have to come in and pull some of these out every once in a while. I think the oxalis would have been a little bit happier had it got a little bit more sun. But we've got some lime thyme coleus in here, 3 of those, and that shows up really well. What else? And then, of course, the caladium. So I popped these in late, like not very long ago. These are called Radiance. And again, we are trialing these just to see how they do. So I thought it would be fun anywhere I had an opening in any container or flower bed. In fact, like right here in this flower bed, I have a whole bunch of caladiums because I just wanted to see how they would do in different situations. So I've really enjoyed them. They've provided a lot of color in this window box. So that's pretty much this one. Now we do have a drip system run to all of these boxes. We did a video about it. We had to do some troubleshooting because we did run that 1/4 inch tubing a really long distance. So we ended up having to swap out part of our long run that was on the ground that was not really, it wasn't watering anything there. It was just trying to get it to the boxes. We had to swap that out for our 1/2 inch tubing so that we weren't running 1/4 inch too long because the pressure wasn't quite making it to this very last box. But we got it figured out, and you can see like there's a little bit of moisture under here. So they water every single day for how long, Aaron? 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think 15, 20.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes. They run every single day right in the middle of the day, and they seem to thrive on that. So let's move on to the next one. So the reason I actually chose the Yorkshire window boxes is because I was looking for a self-watering option, which these are. I wouldn't call these self-watering like, you know, how our True Drop containers work. Those self-water for days and days and days. This one might get you by maybe for a day or two. Like if you need to leave town, they might get you by, but I wouldn't bank on it. But really the other reason I chose them was because they came in so many different sizes, and I was dealing with 3 foot, 4 foot, 5-foot and 6-foot windows, and I wanted them all to match, and they had that. So in this one, I've got Ruby Glow euphorbias, which are actually a full sun plant, and they're doing okay. Like, I do need to pop these out at the end of the season and put them in a full sun location, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of times I will fudge the light requirements, knowing that they're only going to be in here for a few months. They might languish a little bit, like, you know, this one's definitely reaching a little bit, but I know they'll be fine because I'll pop them out and then they'll get the proper light requirements. But they've added a really pretty texture, and I love their little flowers right here. Euphorbias, though, are something you do want to keep out of the way of kids. So I don't think I've got any euphorbias in any of Benjamin's like reachable area, because they put off that white sap, and it can like cause rashing. I have had rashes from euphorbia before. In fact, before I even realized it did that, I got the milk on my gloves, and I must have done this outside, you know, like I got something on my nose, and I rashed and got like blisters all over my face right here and just all around. It was just horrible. So be careful if you use euphorbias. Just try not to get the sap on you. Jack of Diamonds Brunnera, which is a new one for next year. Look at this leaf. It's the most gorgeous thing. They like a shady location. They bloom little light blue blooms in early spring or late spring, and they form like a pretty good sized perennial. And I really wanted to focus on perennials in this window box because it's nice to get more time out of your plants. You know, when you're doing as many planters as we do, I don't want to do 100% annuals. I like the fact that I can pop these out and put them and like bolster up my flower beds, so that I'm not completely, you know, spending all of my money on plants that don't thrive from year to year. But this one right here and on the ends, this is called a Peachberry Ice Heuchera, which look at the new growth on this. In fact, some others, I've got ones right here, bounce over to the flower beds here. There's a Peachberry Ice right here, and you can see what it looks like when it does get a tiny bit more sun. And then I've got others in the flower beds that get even more sun, and they have more color. So you can kind of see how versatile they are. They can handle a shade or more of a sunny location, but I thought it was a really pretty look in here. And then I've got a green dichondra, and then I've got some ivy in here, which I'll probably leave in for Christmas time. So while the perennials go out, I'll probably leave this and kind of weave it in around whatever greens and stuff that I use in this window box. So these two pretty much mimic each other. I've got 3 Sprinter boxwoods in the center. I had spider mites come through really bad. You can see the damage. What spider mites do is they suck the sap out of the leaves. This is a really good example right here. They suck the sap out of the leaves, and then it gives it that speckled appearance, and they can decimate whole entire plants. I mean, it can be a really bad deal. So I have been spraying Mitex on these, sprayed the Rose RX on them as well. It's good if you've got a really bad problem to spray 2 or 3 different kinds of things, like 1 week apart from each other. That way that they're not building up a resistance to any specific chemical you're using. But anyway, I do think that we have successfully beat the problem, and the new growth won't have this dappled kind of speckled appearance. The impatiens, however, did not make it through that mite attack. So I popped those out and put the Chinook caladiums. It was actually perfect because I wanted to, you know, have more areas to plant these caladiums. I thought, ooh, this pink in here is just going to be so pretty, and it is. It's gorgeous. We've got the chocolate drop coleus right here. Now you're going to see in a minute where I did not prune the coleus. I wanted to see how it would react, just like hands off, what it would look like. And then this one I did keep pruned up. And so it can be kept, you know, into more of a petite plant so it doesn't take over, or you can let it be the star of the show. Either way, this is a Goldilocks Creeping Jenny right here. So we've got some nice trailing accent. These I did come along and trim a bit. On this next one, which this is basically the same window box, I haven't trimmed the Creeping Jenny, which could probably use it. But you can see where I did let the coleus grow down a little bit, and the Goldilocks did not color up in that area because it wasn't receiving any light. So I thought that that was kind of interesting to show what would happen, you know, if you don't have it exposed to enough light. You can see I do have 1 impatien left here. This one survived the mite attack, and so I left it, even though it doesn't match the rest of the window box. Doesn't matter. I couldn't pull it out. Like, it survived a pretty bad thing. So anyway, these two are the same. And as we go to the front of the house here, you'll see a chocolate drop coleus left to its own devices. This plant is nuts. In fact, Erin, you should show it from like this angle right here because you can really see the color of it. It does kind of grow this direction. You can tell it faces this direction because this is where the sun pours in. And this area up here gets a surprising amount of hot sun in the morning. And I think it's because when it comes through, it reflects off the window and the White House, and it makes it very warm. In fact, a lot of the coleus wilts in the morning and then it picks back up in the afternoon. More so on this other window box I'll show you in a minute. And that one takes a lot longer to recover because that one gets more sun for some reason. Our house is positioned just a little bit odd, but I have not touched this coleus at all. The chocolate drop coleus is to shade what Supertunia Vista bubblegum is to sun. Like, this is the beast shade plant. If you want something that will like spread all over the place and just do really well in all kinds of different conditions, chocolate drop is your plant. I mean, this is an amazing coleus. I also have Surefire rose begonias in here, which have held their own. They're just kind of, you know, popped in and throughout. We've got the wildberry heuchera, which provides a really pretty weighty base down here. We've got Amazon Mist Carex, which is still hanging in there. But of course it hasn't grown as tall. It looked gorgeous in here when everything was smaller, but I can pop these out and plant them in the landscape later on. Most of them you can't even see anymore. And then I do have some ivy, which you can see in select locations, like right around the corner here, which, let's see. Yeah, and right in here. You can see a little bit. It's called duckfoot ivy. It's got a really neat, let me pull a leaf off. It's got a really neat shaped leaf, I think. Anyway, that I will keep in there for winter. And most of these things, like I'm going to show you today how I'm going to kind of start transitioning to fall a little bit, but everything looks so good that I don't want to tear anything out yet. I want to give these the time that they've got, you know, as long as they've got to where they start looking bad. Like coleus, you can winter these over inside. I probably won't. I mean, I don't have enough space inside to winter over all the plants that I grow outside. The heucheras can go out into the landscape, so can the carex. Begonias you can winter over inside if you want to, but as things kind of succumb to our frosts later on, I'll start popping in more fall stuff, some more pansies, small cabbages, and things like that. Right next to it, let me come around this side. I've got a couple of urns that flank this doorway. There's a boxwood cone in the center. This one looks good. This one looks horrible, which we'll take a closer look in a minute. I did more of the chocolate drop coleus and some variegated creeping Charlie. I also had impatiens in here, just a handful of them, and those all got eaten by the mites. So those are kind of just shriveled up and you can't even see them anymore anyway. So these containers were up by our front arbor last year, and then I brought them up here. So these boxwoods have been in the containers for a couple of years. So I will probably, since this one's not doing well, I'll probably put this one out in the landscape somewhere and start over with something else. Also, when we ran our drip system, we have the white tubing. You can see it right here. So see that right there? That's our drip tube. This comes from Proven Winners. This is from the Waterwise kit, and I love that it's white. It blends in with our house. It's great, except for when we came right in front of the door. You could totally see the tubing. So I got on Amazon and found this giant mat with our monogram, which I'm a total sucker for monograms. So I ordered this, and that's worked out great. You can't see the tubing in front of the door, and it looks more finished. So here is the boxwood on this side. I've kept it in here just because everything is grown together, and I didn't really want to disrupt the root systems of all these. There's a tiny bit of green here, but if you look on this side, like it looks bad. It needs to come out really, really badly. Poor thing. You win some and you lose some. So, okay, this window box right here. So see this right here? This is what it does in the morning. This one just got into the shade, so it will need a little bit of time to come back, and it always does. But you have to think, like, these plants are so big, they don't have a huge water reservoir, and I do make sure if it needs any supplemental water to give it some, which is very rare because of the drip system. But that little root system is supporting a huge amount of foliage. And so it just can't supply it enough water to hold up to that hot sun that this gets in the morning. But in just like an hour or two, it will pick back up and look just like the other one. So this one gets a little slice of sunshine in the middle of the afternoon. And you can see like it's coming into here. So this will get just a tiny bit and then it's done for the day. But these mirror the ones on the other side, except for I used lemon blush caladiums in here. There is a couple of impatiens left. But you can see, like, look at this. This is what mite damage looks like right there. There are no active mites on it, I've checked. But you know, there's no coming back from this. They don't recover after they look like that. Poor things. But this is the coleus I left alone. So you can see the difference between the baskets with the boxwoods on the other side of the house versus on this side. So if you are the type who likes to come out and kind of keep things trimmed up and such, I mean, like, go for it and keep it the way you like it. I tend to like to experiment with stuff, and you can tell that from these window boxes. Like, I'll trim some, I won't trim some, and then I eventually figure out a combination of plants that does really well together, that like really cooperates well with each other, and to where I don't have to trim them. I mean, that's the goal. I want to put stuff together that does not have to be maintained all the time. I don't mind doing it on a few pots, but I don't want to do it on every single container that we have. So now I know next year that I do not need as many chocolate drop coleus in these containers as I did this year. Same on this pot, lemon blush caladiums here. See, these have more of a chartreusey, lemony green on the outside, and then see that red in the middle. That's really a good name for that caladium there. And these also have the Goldilocks creeping jennies. You can kind of see it from the side on both of these. They kind of pop out, and those are a really nice perennial. And this last window box, it was made from all things I had left in my greenhouse or in other containers from last year. So I didn't purchase a single one of these plants new this year. I just put them together differently. So I have a lemon cypress that I had in the greenhouse. We had a mild enough winter that it survived. And I really like that vertical accent right there. There's a couple of, what are these called? It's on the tip of my tongue. Well, it's an ivy, but I can't remember the name. Goldchild, I think. There's a couple of heucherellas. Look at this. Look how pretty that is. We've got a duckfoot ivy in the center, another heucherella, and then another goldchild. And I'm just kind of proud of this because it's fun when you can repurpose things from past projects and you don't have to buy everything brand new. So those are our window boxes around the base of our house. Now we're going to head back around to the other side. This morning I went out and I harvested a few little pumpkins and squash that I had growing in my garden. And I'm just going to kind of tuck them in and just show you how I'm going to bring a little bit of fall color in right now. So you can see right here, look at this little basket full of beauty. And what I like to do in containers that I know I don't want to pull anything out, I just like to tuck a few little things in. I mean, it doesn't need to be much, but just like a little fall touch here and there is just so fun to see that color without having to sacrifice the look of your plants. Right now, I also have, these are preserved oak leaves, which I don't know if I'm going to use these in this container because of all the pink, but I'll just kind of poke them in just so you can see. You know, you can start kind of bringing a little bit of fall in. I also picked up these faux hops, which look really good. I found them at a consignment store, and I thought they'd be really fun to, like, I might just need to cut them up a little bit, which I'm going to probably have to go get a cutter to do that. But, you know, I'll just kind of start working these things in. And that's what I do early on in the fall. Like, I still have a lot more pumpkins and squash to harvest out in the garden, but I'll just start, you know, popping them in here and there, and it's just a fun kind of festive look. So there's nothing much to it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the update just to see how everything's doing. I'm really pleased with how they all did this year. Really happy with all the plants, and it's not like that every single year. So like this year, I feel like I had much more success than I did last year. So we're getting better. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.